Hi, everyone. I'm Kaylie Shapiro.
And I'm Matthew DeSantis.
And Sovereignty just won the Belmont Stakes. Let's react.
Welcome to this Belmont Stakes post-reaction video on NYRA Bets with myself, Matthew DeSantis, and my NYRA Bets colleague, Kaylie Shapiro, who was busy cashing some tickets after this renewal of the Belmont Stakes. But before we get into reacting to Sovereignty's victory over Journalism and Baeza, we want to remind you to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. Subscribing is entirely free of cost, just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, and so much more. Yes, the Triple Crown might be done, but racing goes all year long. We got to get ready for Royal Ascot, folks. We're going to have a ton of content here throughout the summer for Saratoga, into the fall for the Breeders' Cup, and beyond. All right, Kaylie, let's not bury the lead any longer. Sovereignty, a horse that you have loved since he was a 2-year-old in that street sense back at Churchill Downs. Mm-hmm. You've been on this horse in the Derby. You were on him again today. I was standing right behind you when we were watching in the Jim Dandy bar here at Saratoga next to our mutual friend, Sean Patrick Nolan. And I don't know if I'm able to hear out of both of my ears anymore because there was a lot of screaming and yelling coming down the stretch. But what a thrilling effort and what just an absolute stamp he has put as the top 3-year-old in this generation.
Absolutely. And apologies for my voice. I was screaming a lot, definitely, as that horse was coming down the stretch. I mean, what we just witnessed was a very, very special horse. That was just incredible. I mean, the horse sat way closer to the pace than he ever has before. And granted, I know it was slower than the Derby, but obviously, I mean, he had to change up tactics a little bit.
He did.
And he did it. And that's just, I mean, he ended and crossed the wire with his ears pricked as well. And that's something that stuck out to me when I watched the replay. I mean, that's just a special, special horse.
It really is. And listen, let's kind of start from the beginning of this race and maybe let's start a little bit of the wagering even leading up to it, because I think that was something, and we can talk about maybe even going back a little bit more. You and I both had a chance to see a lot of these horses throughout the week. And you and I both said we were standing right as they were walking over. And I've been on Journalism. She was on Sovereignty. You know, I went 7-2. You went 2-7. And you looked at me after they walked over and they said, our 2 horses look like the best 2 horses in the race. So it was pretty obvious physically if you were around these horses. And I know not everybody's a physical handicapper, and that's fine. People like the numbers. They like the sheets. That, you know, they go by these sorts of things. Physically, these 2 horses just look so much better than every other horse that's a 3-year-old in this race. And it played out that way.
I mean, they're big standouts. You saw them walk through. Sovereignty, it was insane when he walked by, because me and you were standing up where they walk up, trying to get a video of them walking up. And everyone around us, just every fan, they were like, whoa, when Sovereignty walked by, he's
one guy was like, that's a massive horse.
Yeah, he's massive. And then Journalism walked by and he looked us dead in the eye. And he did the same thing when we saw him walk up to work the other day as well. I mean, they're both just incredible horses, but I don't want to hear anything. If that race was run 10 more times, Sovereignty would have won 10 out of 10 of the times.
Maybe not.
And I think 10. And Mike McCarthy did say to Bill Mott afterwards, you know, he's just better. And that's just the case. And they're both amazing horses, but that horse passed the horse with ease, just like he did in the Derby. Not only that, he was sat ahead of Journalism. Journalism got the jump and passed him. And Sovereignty fought right down to the I mean, that horse ended with his ears pricked too. I think if they went around 10 times, he would have been the winner every time.
I'm going to hill road on the gallop out. Anyway, okay, Chad. And so, listen, the reality is that let's go back, though, and talk about how this thing was looking before we even started the race in terms of wagering. I think that was an interesting dynamic because, yes, Journalism took a lot of money. We knew he was the favorite. And then you looked at Sovereignty, who looked to be third choice for a little while behind Baeza. And the Baeza love never made sense to me. And that horse ran third, but I would say that was a more distant third.
Far back. How far back do you know?
I have 5 lengths probably from Journalism. 3 lengths from Journalism, probably 5 overall. From Sovereignty, the chart makers will obviously do a better job than I am, right? Just thinking off the top of my head. But the bottom line is Baeza is a nice horse, but is nowhere near those top two. And neither of us understood the Baeza love this whole time. Oh, Baeza, stop. And so that horse didn't sit as close to the pace. It's a nice horse. I'm sure it's going to win a listed stakes at Penn National at some point, but no, I'm kidding. No, very nice horse. And a horse that, one of the things you and I pointed out about Baeza, still could physically develop more.
Still developing. Yeah. And that's the exact reason why I didn't have that horse. Yeah. He ran third. I didn't have him third. Okay. But I think that when that horse continues to develop and mature,
if he continues to,
he's
got room to grow out.
He's a serious horse.
It depends on whether he grows out, but he's got room to grow out for sure.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to wait and see. But with that wagering, eventually Sovereignty gets down to second choice, but very close to Baeza. And listen, the start of the race, I think there were a couple of things that surprised me. Now, what didn't surprise me was Rodriguez and Crudo went out up front. Mm-hmm. But the two things that surprised me, one, Uncaged showed significant early speed to kind of insert himself into that early pace, maybe a little bit more, and actually kind of floated Journalism out wider because Journalism couldn't really get over as close to the rail, I think, as Umberto probably would have ideally wanted him to. And you made the point that Journalism always makes a better run inside than he does outside before. And he was outside the whole way around. Now, he stayed out of trouble. That's one way to look at it as well. But the other thing is Sovereignty and Junior, tactical ride, showed so much more speed than they did. And that was, when I saw how close Sovereignty was in the early going, race was over at that point.
For me, I was shocked. I mean, I knew that Sovereignty was going to sit closer.
Yeah.
To see where he was sitting.
Yeah.
When you change tactics up, first of all, Bill Mott, obviously Junior, they're geniuses. Bill Mott is a genius. He's looking at the way the track is playing over the last few days. He's making sure that he's in the most favorable position to get his horse the win. He changed tactics up with the horse. I mean, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of horse to be able to change tactics like that. And like we said, obviously, softer fractions than the Derby, but I mean, that horse was sitting way closer than we've ever seen him. And the fact that he got the job done like that.
Yeah.
Journalism, obviously, he's an amazing horse. I cannot believe the way Sovereignty went by him again. I'm sorry not to say like he was nothing, but that horse, Sovereignty, ended with his ears pricked. Like, it's insane what we just saw.
It is. And in Sovereignty, listen, Bill Mott took a lot of heat and criticism for skipping the Preakness and going straight to the Belmont after the Kentucky Derby. Well, it proved to be the right move. Now, somebody said, well, it says he regret now maybe not going to the Preakness and denying himself the opportunity of a Triple Crown. Listen, that's a counter hypothetical we're never going to know. Because if the horse goes to the Preakness, does he win the Preakness? You don't know what the race dynamics, how that might have played out differently. You just don't know. And if he won the Preakness, does he come up here? Maybe is not quite as fresh, and maybe somebody's able to nab him in the Belmont. So again, arguing these points, yes, it's fun for barroom conversation. The reality is what we saw happen proved that Sovereignty is the best horse in this 3-year-old crop.
Exactly. And I love to have these discussions, especially like, after the race and stuff, but just appreciating what we just saw.
Oh, yeah.
That's really what I'm doing. I mean, you'd imagine that they kind of knew what they had after the Derby. I'm not saying they didn't know before, but after the Derby, you're going to handle that horse with like kid gloves. I mean, if you're trying to achieve all of your goals, I know that they want to go win in Dubai. I know that he wants to win the Travers.
Yes, he already made that very clear that he's never won the Travers before. It's a very important 3-year-old race, he said. So Bill Mott, all intentions are going to the Travers for Sovereignty. So treats to us because we'll be up here in Saratoga being able to see him all summer long. And listen, the race played out, like I said, roughly the way we thought. But with the difference being that Sovereignty was a little bit closer than we might have thought. Baeza maybe a little further back than we might have thought. But the reality was that one of the things that you and I talked about, I brought up, I think, on radio a couple of times, and we discussed was Journalism needs to have a buffer in the head of Sovereignty to beat him. He needs to have that 5-6 lengths ahead of him when they make their respective moves. Because if they're on even terms or even just a couple lengths apart, Sovereignty is going to track him down every time with that massive turn of foot. And what we saw in the Derby was Junior made the decision, hey, I got to keep up with Journalism a little bit. And when Journalism made his move, Junior was only 2-3 lengths back. And today, he's laying right there with Journalism in the early going of the race. And he backs up a little bit as Journalism's out in the clear. And Junior's going to kind of get out from the inside to angle out. But he's, again, 2 lengths off of him. And you're never going to beat Sovereignty if you're only if you're journalism, if you're only 2 lengths ahead. If you're 7, 8 lengths ahead, maybe there's a chance. But if you're only 2, forget about it.
In my opinion, I don't think that anyone in that crop is beating Sovereignty. Period.
I think if he's got a decent enough trip. I mean, obviously,
I think if Sovereignty has issues in a race, or he gets a really bad trip, but that's like, if that happens, I mean, if we're talking even grounds, that horse is winning every time. We saw that today.
Yeah.
But you will say, I mean, what do you think when, these two potentially meet up in the Breeders' Cup? Obviously, we're talking about the Travers. Sovereignty is going to be a heavy favorite, obviously, going into the Travers, especially if Journalism isn't there. I mean, he's going to
unlikely that he would travel back out here. I'd imagine he's going to stay out in California and win some of those races. And if they go to the Breeders' Cup Classic, listen, and the thing is, you go to the Breeders' Cup Classic, you got Nisos, you have Fierceness, you have Mindframe, you got White Barrio, you got Sierra Leone. You got a lot of really good horses. So we'll see how they kind of all shake out with regards to wagering and all that sort of thing. If they all end up going there and things like that. But
that's going to be amazing.
That would be. But the one thing about Del Mar's, it does tend to be a little bit more of a speed favoring track. But we just saw Sierra Leone win because they went nuclear up front. And if Dermot Sotogake comes over again and decides to go 43 seconds to the half mile in a 1.25 mile race, sure, at that point, Senior Buscador might come out of retirement and win the race. If they run that damn fast up front. So, it'll be interesting to see. And I think that's the thing, is we're excited to see the rest of these 3-year-old campaigns. And in some ways, it's going to be nice that one's on the East Coast and one's on the West Coast, and they can kind of build up and pad their resumes maybe a little bit more and collect some more wins before they face off with each other again, because I think that's going to be a really thrilling showdown.
Absolutely. I mean, Sovereignty, if he does go to the Breeders' Cup Classic, is going to be going to Journalism's backyard.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it's a bit of a different ball game.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time that, and when I say this, I say it with complete respect, journalism is a specimen of a horse. If you talk about a horse that's physically perfect, that if you can build a horse, I mean, Sovereignty as well, but Journalism, I have to give him,
for a big horse, he is incredibly well balanced.
He's everything that you would ever want in a horse.
Yes.
So is Sovereignty, but I'm just saying, Journalism is a very nice horse.
Yeah.
I say this with all due respect. The Breeders' Cup is the only shot that horse has to be Sovereignty, because it's in his backyard.
It is. And like I said, we'll have to continue to wait and see how this group plays out and kind of how they continue to run as they progress as 3-year-olds, whether or not another 3-year-old maybe pops up in the picture. You never know. I mean, you get late developing horses sometimes. One thing I will say, I mean, I know they made the deal with Coolmore already with regards to Journalism, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And so I'm pretty sure he's going to stud there.
Yeah, you're right.
And let me tell you something. They're going to line up across the street to match their mares up with Journalism, because he might have finished second, but as you said, he is a physically perfect horse.
Definitely.
I mean, and so from a breeding and pedigree standpoint, they don't lose anything by finishing second, and you're just racking up significant paychecks and significant victories and performances during this Triple Crown run.
And same with Sovereignty. I mean, he's the son of Into Mischief.
Yep.
Imagine what his price tag is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I was rooting for him all year, but I was like, all right, well, worst case scenario, if he loses, maybe the stud deal's a little cheaper as a breeder. I was like, oh, you know what I mean?
But maybe get the high gloss
but, no shot now. That
that's going to be a pretty price tag on him. Well, let's talk about some of the other horses really quickly in this race. Baeza, we talked to him a little bit. And listen, Baeza, I do think, jokes aside about, I tend to be a little over the top about things, but Baeza is a very, very nice horse. And also, should note, unlike Journalism, who ran, we should say, all 3 legs of the Triple Crown, the only horse to do so. So I think credit to Michael McCarthy, credit to his team. That horse was ready to run every single one of those legs, ran his race every single one of those legs, and fired every single one of those legs. He did not fire. He was beat by a better horse, but he fired his race every single time. So the credit to him for showing that, hey, you can run an A race 3 times in 5 weeks, and it's not disqualifying.
All 3 legs, second, first, second.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some horse. That's
exactly. And so, credit to him. Baeza, though, John Sheriffs goes, we're running the Kentucky Derby. We go back to California, then we go back to New York. I'm not saying that was a determining factor, but that's a lot of travel still in a young horse to go California to Kentucky, Kentucky to California, California to New York in a span of 5 weeks.
And that's the part of the reason why I never would have considered that horse as a win contender.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that he had to step up as quickly as he did.
Yeah.
Face tougher company. And on top of that, he was traveling. And I will give this to Baeza. When he walked by, he buffed up a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought walking up to the
yeah.
race. Yeah. I mean, when I saw him on the track the week leading up,
Yeah.
I didn't love what I saw. He
Yeah.
looked really good actually walking up to the race. And
Yeah.
I will say, if anyone can point me out another example, I think he's the only McKenzie that has gotten significantly better at 3.
The only one that's gotten significantly better for sure, and it seems to appreciate distance, obviously now finishing third in 2 marathon, quote marathon, mile and quarter marathon races. So listen, the 4th place finisher, Rodriguez, goes up to the lead. The Wood Memorial winner, who had not, tried to go to the Derby, was removed, tried to go to the Preakness, was removed due to that lingering foot issue, missed a couple of workouts. Listen, he did, he set strong but not crazy fractions up front, and obviously faded back a little bit, was overtaken, but I thought, honestly, not a terrible effort, all things considered, for that horse, considering that he hadn't raced since that Wood Memorial back in early April, so it had been a few months for him, and honestly, not a bad effort, all things considered.
No, first time at Saratoga, he went up, he set the pace, he took the pressure from Crudo, who was nowhere to be seen. Rodriguez stuck for 4th. I mean, I don't know how much he lost by. I need to check the chart, but he certainly ran a really good race compared to all the. I mean,
no, he did, and listen, Hill Road finished 5th, and I think that's a nice horse, and I think Chad's got a real nice horse there. He's not Sierra Leone, and in terms of just being that quality of like Triple Crown level horse, he's a very nice horse. I think he might get a grade 1 at one of these days.
It was a off track.
It was a little bit. I mean, it was a fast track by the time they actually went off. It was fast.
It was rated fast, but it was also his first time at Saratoga. First time maybe taking a track with some moisture. I know it was a fast track, but the track had some moisture. I mean,
it had to after the last 48 hours.
That was his first time over the track.
And he got good but not amazing fractions to run into. And it was a major step up in class. He's not chasing down McAfee and Captain Cook anymore. Exactly. And so this is and listen, he finished 5th, and that's fine. And what I will say about Hill Road is that if the race was at 1.5 miles, it is clear he does just get stronger as the race goes on. So he does like that kind of extra furlong or two that you could have potentially tacked on when the Belmont was 1.5 miles down in Belmont Park, which it will return to be when we get back to Belmont Park in 2026, 2027 at some point. And so some point soon, we're excited for that. But here's the other thing is, like I said, just didn't really get the pace there. But then you have Heart of Honor, who finished 6th. And I have to say, I saw Jamie Osborne. I didn't tell you this before we started recording. I saw Jamie Osborne on the way back from the race. And I went up to him and I said, Jamie, I just wanted to say thank you for bringing your horse over. It really was really great. He goes, he tried his best. And it's just Jamie Osborne's like the classiest, nicest guy.
Yeah, he was so nice when you interviewed him. And I thought that was the best interview really I've seen all week that you did with him. He gave so much information. He did. And obviously you asked all the right questions, but when that horse walked by, he's a beautiful horse. No matter where he finished, all I know is that's a beautiful horse. And I hope that, we see him again.
Hey, for the longest shot in the race, he beat a couple of horses home. And again, like, he didn't disgrace himself running 6th in that race. That's fine. And so, listen, my long shot, my crazy idea was Crudo. That horse faded back. I mean, listen, that was his 4th career effort. He clearly needs to continue to build up some foundation in order to handle that 1.25 mile distance if he ever even tries that again. Probably 1.8 miles is probably what Todd's going to have him running at. But listen, it is a thrilling day. It was, there was the rain. Turf courses, turf races got taken off the turf, moved Manhattan and Jaipur, moved to Sunday. We're excited for that. Race 12 and 13 on the card, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, 2 grade 1s. I mean, that's still a pretty nice way to end out the Saratoga Race Day Festival. But Kaylie, I want to go to you. Any final thoughts that you had on today, maybe overall, or Sovereignty's performance, and kind of what you thought about it?
definitely think, I mean, I just cannot wait to cover the races this summer.
Yeah.
Sovereignty is going to be up here all summer. It'll be so fun for you and I to follow that horse.
Yeah.
And to, you know, go and provide content on that horse and updates on him and
I
go
agree.
watch him work.
Yeah.
What a treat to have that horse basically in our backyard all summer.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, I mean, past Saratoga, these horses are all going to meet in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
That I just cannot wait. I think that this is a special bunch of horses. And I know that obviously you guys know I love Sovereignty. I've been high on him all year. But Journalism, especially a few others in there, if they do take another step up.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with a really serious crop, and I just can't wait to cover it for the rest of the year.
No, it's going to be thrilling. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it either. And we got some great older horses too. And that's the other thing is, you know, what we saw in the Met Mile today with Raging Torrent. What a performance by that horse, putting on that. And I'll tell you who, I know it was an off-turf race. Fierceness second. I told you he wasn't going to win. And so.
Where was just the touch?
We're third. Right. You know, and what are you going to do?
Him, right?
Yeah, Pierce beat him. All right. Pierce is still lost. And so Mike Rapoli's home crying. And so, but he did promise that Uncaged would finish 7th, and Uncaged did indeed finish 7th. So it was a top 7 effort. But but we should say thanks to Mike for doing the video that you put together. That was very nice of him to do.
Yeah, he was so nice.
Yeah,
honestly.
But listen, it's going to be, like I said, a lot of fun to continue to follow these horses as they develop. Like I said, great performance by Raging Torrent today. And I'll tell you the other performance that was impressive. And I know it was an off-the-turf race. Nitrogen.
Oh, my God.
Holy crap.
My jaw
that horse
was dropped. The
The
margin just kept extending. And I was like, wait, is this a dirt horse? I'm confused, right?
She moved like it. I mean, she ran like it. And here's the crazy part. I think it was David Aragona that tweeted this out. That Raging Torrent's final time in the Met Mile was only 0.27 seconds faster than Nitrogen's time in the Wonder Again, and she was getting geared down the entire stretch. That was a freakishly good performance from her on the dirt. And I'm not going to tell Mark Cassidy how to train, but I'm just going to say if races get taken off the turf, he shouldn't worry about it because he's got a horse that can run just fine on the dirt. Good Lord, it might be the reverse Cogburn. Like where all of a sudden she goes on the dirt and gets even better. I don't know. That was an awesome performance. So listen, to conclude, I just want to say a couple of words real quick, Kaylie, and that is thank you to all the fans that are up here at Saratoga that came out to see the racing up here, but also a huge thank you to every single person who came up to myself or Kaylie during the last few days and said, hey, we love what you're doing. We really appreciate it. We love your videos. Those comments mean a lot to the both of us. And especially on a week like this week, which I think you were both working on about 4 hours sleep a night at best sometimes. And so, you know, we try to put the best content together for you all. We try to handicap. We put all of our efforts into that, and we try to bring you the best perspective and analysis that we can do. And so to have you all be very appreciative of that means the world to both of us. And so I just want to say thank you for that. That was very, very kind, and a lot of kind words were said this weekend, and I deeply, deeply appreciate it. And it is never lost on me that I get to talk and Kaylie gets to talk about horses running around in circles as a job.
I know, and we have so much fun doing it.
We do, because it's not work.
I just can't wait. Like,
on the way home.
So much more left to do throughout the whole rest of the year. I mean, and then next year we do it all over again. That's the joy.
That's the beauty. It just keeps going around. And if you're listening still, we're not going to say who. We're not going to say who, but we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us on a show tomorrow. And it's not just Nick Zito. Nick Zito is bringing a friend, and you definitely want to stick around for that. So what are we doing after this? We're preparing for that interview for tomorrow. So listen, the work never stops, but guess what? It's not work when you love it. So deeply appreciate everybody's comments. Kaylie, let's keep going and doing some work, I guess, after this. But man, let's enjoy some Sunday fun day at the spa tomorrow.
Absolutely. And just to wrap up, I mean, Sovereignty. I love Sovereignty. I love that horse. You
do.
I'm on a high the rest of the night after that horse won.
That
was brilliant.
And you should be.
And congratulations to Bill Mott
and
Godolphin, obviously. I mean, what a year they've had.
The Blue Silks. And by the way, it's already painted, folks. It's already painted out in the spa. The Blue Silks are up. And to quote my good friend Chase Sessoms, go Dolphin. That's my dolphin. And so listen, it's going to be, with that, on that high note. But no. amazing effort, and credit to all the great horsemen throughout the whole week with all of the great racing that we've had up here. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to press that like and subscribe button on NYRA Bets YouTube today. For Kaylie Shapiro, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and profitable day at the races. And reminding you, friends, it is now post time.